And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Soul Survivor podcast. We are here to talk about the premiere of Survivor 49. Dylan, how are you doing?
What's up, Ryan? So obviously we had some mic issues here, which is why Ryan did the intro. I am without a mic, but we're gonna power through. It's the premiere. We're back. It feels good to be back. And that's awesome. I'm happy to be back. Obviously, we haven't podcasted in months since the Survivor 50 cast reveal. We had a long podcast there. Haven't spoke on the podcast since, but we're back. Last season, we had a ton of conflicts. Season 48, I believe we did like the first 4 episodes, and then we did not do the rest of the season, but we did do the podcast for the 50 cast reveal. So it's good to be back. Luckily, I could announce that we have no more conflicts. So we will be here Wednesday nights after the show, back again, just like old times, just like years ago. It's been a while, but we're back. I'm excited.
Yeah, fresh reactions. You get to hear from us right away. Obviously, when we record, later on, we get to kind of absorb what the Twitterverse and what the fan base is saying. But we're coming in here, immediate thoughts, immediate reactions. We're going to learn things in post. We're going to see exit interviews tomorrow. So yeah, Dylan, I'm excited. I mean, we just came back from watching the episode. What were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I enjoyed the premiere. I don't know if I enjoyed it maybe as much as like some of the other ones we've had in the past, but I thought it was a solid premiere. I wasn't like blown away by the cast, but I think that there is hope for the cast. So I'm excited. I mean, obviously, like every premiere, it's like you pick your a few people here and there that you're like these are my favorites. And then obviously some will grow on us as we go on with the season. So I'm excited to hear how it goes. I'm excited to go through the episode.
Yeah, to me, this felt like a fine premiere. I feel like we've had 9, of course, now of these new era premieres, and this certainly hasn't been the most crazy or interesting that we've had. But I thought it was a very like classic premiere in a way, right? This almost felt kind of old school Dylan, where, and we'll get through it, but you have a tribe that loses, and essentially what they're talking about is, hey, we got to keep the tribe strong, and we're picking between option A or option B. There's no like funny business blindsides. We're a 4-person alliance. We're picking Nicole or we're picking Annie, and we're going to go with Nicole. And obviously there was not much idle talk, not much advantage talk, other than Nicole saying she might do shot in the dark. So it felt overall like very old school classic, I would say, in this way.
Yeah, I saw, I believe Gabe from season 47 tweeted about this, and I saw it after. And then like he said something like it felt good to not have an idol hunt in the first episode as the person that idol hunted on my season. Like that, it was interesting because I didn't even like think to myself in the episode. I completely like forgot that idols in the first episode are like normally a thing, and it just felt like we, kind of like an old fashioned first premiere episode. We obviously still had the battle for supplies, which we'll get into that. That was certainly a show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt like kind of like an older version premiere where we didn't have any journeys other than just the battle for the supplies. We didn't have any like beware advantages being thrown in our face. We didn't have any idol hunts. We kind of just got to know the tribes, and that's nice sometimes. So
yeah, and I feel like you said, so far I don't have a ton of immediate like reactions from the cast. I mean, like you said, I think it's a pretty mixed bunch where I feel like it's fairly good. I mean, it has chances to go up. I mean, I feel like there's some people that I resonated more with than others right away, but I'm excited to kind of break down not only the dynamics of each of the 3 tribes, but also kind of how we came to this decision. So for those that are new to the podcast, what we typically do, and I know it's the premiere, we typically kind of start with the headline of the night, which essentially is, who was voted out? Was it the right decision? We kind of break down, the top story at this hour. And then that's when we kind of go backwards in time and we kind of then go through the episode. And obviously we'll spend time going through, each of the new players and like, what is our thoughts? But like, yeah, Dylan, I guess let's start with that. So Nicole, like I mentioned, they're deciding between Nicole and Annie to kind of be the first boot, and they go with Nicole. Were you, surprised by this choice? Was it, the right choice for the alliance? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a strong opinion either way. I don't think they gave like normally like they'll paint it in the first episode that the first boot's like either like a very obvious first boot or like we understand why. And I kind of just think that there was a 4-person alliance that formed, and they had to vote out one of the other 2. and you had Nicole and Annie, and I think that there were pros and cons to keeping each, and I think at the end of the day, the tribe prioritized who's going to win us challenges. And now let's keep in mind, we're in a new era where, it's 3 tribes, small tribes of 6, and we have not seen tribe swaps pre-merge in most of these seasons. So you really do have to rely on strength to get you through the beginning, right? You always see these tribes with strong alliances of 4 that really don't lose challenges. In the pre-merge, those 4 that go from the strong tribe go on to control a large portion of this new era game a lot of times. So I think it is important that they took out who was probably going to be the weakest in the challenges. So in my opinion, that was probably the right move to prioritize, their longevity in the game potentially. So I think it was the right call, but it's kind of hard to say because they did give us pros and cons of each. But if I had to say, yes, I do think it was the right call.
Yeah, I feel like it worked out for the 4 of them. Obviously, the 4 of them being, Sophie, which we'll have to get into the 2 different Sophies, but Sophie with an I, Jeremiah, Jake, and Alex. And I feel like in both challenges, both in the reward and immunity, both Nicole and Annie showed to struggle a little bit. So it wasn't like there was a clear choice in terms of like, oh, this person's performing worse than this person. They both, didn't help their tribes win. So I guess in their minds, they felt like Annie gave them the best shot to go forward. I feel like the only thing I would say, though, for Jeremiah is I feel like he early on, and obviously this was day 1 compared to day 3, he seemed to have a relationship with Nicole. So I would have thought maybe he would have fought harder to keep Nicole. As I see, it seemed like Annie was kind of isolating herself from the tribe anyway. So I didn't know if it was like an easier choice just to get rid of Annie, who's looking to maybe, isolate herself or maybe even looking for an idol. But yeah, it seems like they went with Nicole. Nicole mentioned before Tribal that if she catches any whiff of anything, awry, she'll play her shot in the dark. She doesn't play it. So I guess she either felt good, and maybe that speaks to the Alliance really like snowing her in terms of like, oh, she really didn't expect it.
Yeah. I think I think it was the right move. That's the bottom line. I think it was the right move. I want to get into kind of all these tribes. Yeah. We can start with the blue tribe.
Sure.
Especially because, the vote wasn't anything crazy. It was kind of just a simple first boot, right? Let's get into these tribes, and let's start with the Kelly tribe. And on this podcast, as usual, we will go the entire season by colors and colors only. But the blue tribe, we have Alex, Annie, Jake, Jeremiah, Nicole voted out, and Sophie. So let's talk about the 5 that still remain in the game and our first impressions. I think, as if you are a recurring listener of this podcast, you may know that in this first episode every season, I'll come on this podcast after the first episode and be like, yeah, me and my brother, we normally go with our 3 quote unquote horses or 3 players that we pick for the season. And let me just start by saying that Sophie from the blue tribe was one of them for me. I'm pretty high on Sophie. I think, she seemed to be a focal point of this tribe dynamic. Somebody that everybody wanted to work with, got a lot of screen time, which is never a bad thing. So that's, I think she's off to a good start in my opinion. So super high on her. And then we obviously have the duo of Alex and Jake, and they're kind of just having some kind of bromance going on, which is pretty funny to watch. If I had to guess, I think that duo will probably be one that goes deep into this game. Jake he might find himself treading on thin ice a little bit, because my first impression of him is like, this guy is big enough that he'll get to the merge just because of strength, and then he'll be a huge threat. But maybe people want to keep him around to be a shield. Who knows in the modern day? But that seems like a pretty good duo to me. Jeremiah obviously linking up with Sophie as well, so that seems like it's going to be a pretty strong 4. And then Annie just kind of scrapes by the skin of her teeth to the next episode. Now, we didn't really see like much of Annie. It looks like that on the coming attraction for next episode, we're going to see a lot more of her. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But what are your impressions of this core 4 in blue plus Annie? Curious to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an interesting group. I mean, Jake tries to reheat Rupert's nachos by stealing shoes, going full Rupert or going full Russell by stealing people's stuff. I thought that was interesting. I think the interesting part about this dynamic, because I think, like you said, the story here is it's the four-person alliance now going forward along with Annie. Obviously, we'll see if the four-person alliance fractures next week. But at first, Jake and Alex seem to have an unspoken, bromance. That's kind of what Jake was saying when Alex went to go do the hero challenge. And Jake comes to Sophie and says, "Hey, I got good vibes from you." And Sophie's like, "Great, because I want to have a meat shield. I want to work with you, Jake." And he's like, "Great. And I have Alex. We have an unspoken bond. Let's have the three of us." And I think this is where I have good vibes on Sophie because, right away she's smart and she's like, this is great. I have two meat shields in front of me, but I'm not naive to think they will kind of pick themselves over me. So I got to keep an eye on them if they're kind of getting a little too close. And then there was that edit where they were really hamming up the bromance. So she must have been really happy when, Jake goes to Jeremiah and says, "Hey," or I guess Jeremiah goes to Jake and says, "Hey, I don't think they'll expect us working together. I can get Sophie. Okay, great. I can get Alex." And they make a four-person alliance. And so now Nicole kind of has, a 2-2 split with the boys. So I feel like that's kind of how that alliance formed. So I think the question next week, Dylan, or whenever Blue loses again, is going to be, is Annie just a simple, easy vote? Or is Sophie and Jeremiah going to get threatened by the bromance? And are they going to maybe pull an Annie and kind of cut one of the guys? I don't know.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see. I think, again, you made a good point with Sophie. Is like one of the reasons I was so impressed with her is like she realized like you don't want to be the third of the three, right? You don't want to be the third person in what's a bromance and you're the one girl on the outside, right? So what she says to Jeremiah is like, "Oh, we have to be number ones. Like we could be part of this four-person alliance. We have to be number ones." Now, if you think back to season 45, the most successful group was a core four with two duos, right? If you're in a core four, you always got to have like the inside alliance within the alliance. So I think, if you're in an alliance of four, you're never going to be like a true 4-4. Like you might be, moving as a voting block together as four, but like you're always going to have one person in that alliance that you're closest with. So I think that was really smart and really self-aware by Sophie. So again, huge for her. I thought she had a great first episode. Now let's talk about Jake and the stealing shoes. I have no idea what to make of this guy. I don't know what the point of that was. If he's doing it like as a joke, and it's like at the end, is going to be like, "Ha, didn't you guys think this was funny? I was the one that was doing it the whole time." Or like, is he said he was like doing it like he kind of wanted to do a little chaos around camp. Like, what a risky move. Like, you got to watch yourself on day one, because if he had gotten caught doing that, it would not that they probably wouldn't have voted him out because he's just such a strong guy and they need to win challenges. But like, you really got to watch yourself. Just a kind of bizarre thing, but at the same time also entertained because I want to see what this guy continues to do.
Yeah, I just don't know what it achieves. Because again, I mean, if I think back to the two other examples of people stealing stuff, again, Rupert steals shoes in order to trade them away for things in Pearl Islands, and then Russell, burns socks. Russell, hides the flint. He pours out the water. So he's doing like actual detrimental things to cause chaos and also to make people get paranoid, and he then can control that chaos. I don't know what Jake taking a shoe and throwing it like 10 yards away, I don't know really what that does, because Nicole found it like 5 minutes later. So I don't know what it achieves. I don't know if he's going to take more shoes and then hide shoes in farther places. But like you said, Dylan, it's such a silly little thing where it's like, if you get caught doing it for no reason that doesn't benefit you, it just gives them ammunition to get rid of you, honestly.
Yeah, I don't understand the benefit, but we'll have to see the method to his madness. Now let's go, because I think it ties into Blue with what happens after the first challenge. Let's go to the Red Tribe. So the Red Tribe, we have Juwan, Nate, Rizzo, Sage, Savannah, and Shannon. 3 S's. We already have 2 Sophies on the season. We now have 3 S's on the 3 girls that start with an S on the same tribe also.
Yeah, Dylan, they're doing this on purpose. 3 with S on the same tribe, and then 5 overall if you throw in the other Sophie and you throw in actually we're talking about Red. So yeah, both Sophies and then the 3 other S's. They make this way too hard on us.
Sage, Savannah, and Shannon, all the same tribe.
Sophie, Sage, Savannah, Shannon. I'm like, come on. What are we doing here?
Yeah, we need some name diversity here. I mean, come on. All right, but let's talk about this tribe. I think, Savannah said something like right when they came onto the beach was like, "This is the Vibes tribe." I think this is my favorite tribe to start. if I had to choose one. Now, obviously, like we know, and the Survivor community is pretty well aware that Rizzo and Savannah are going to be on Survivor 50. So I think like they have high expectations coming in from like the fans. A lot of fans do know that. So I was just interested to kind of just see. Obviously, it's pretty clear to me, and pretty clear to everybody that those two are going to be big characters on the season. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But yeah, I pretty much got good vibes from everybody. The only one that I was a little bit, they're honestly two of them. Sage, I don't know what was going on. They kind of made it seem like she's going to be like the clown of the season. I don't know what that will entail, if she's going to be an early boot because of that. But
Yeah,
it seemed like nobody wanted to include her in plans. Everyone thought like, okay, she's like the weirdo of the tribe. Like that's kind of how they were describing her. So I don't like the place that she's in for sure. And then Shannon, I think, is in a good spot, but I was like, what's going on here? Yeah, she very, very spiritual. Savannah said she wasn't feeling that part of her, but thought she wants to work with Shannon and liked her. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are. We'll get into each person, but yeah, I so far this is my favorite tribe. I was really hoping that they would win the challenge because I didn't want anybody going home from here.
yeah, Red's a good group. I don't know if I like Red or Yellow better, just in terms of like prospective players. But yeah, no, I mean Red's a good group. I think we both have very high expectations and hopes for Savannah. I think she got a great first edit, and obviously we're kind of biased because again, like you said, we know she's going to be on 50, so we're looking out for it. But even if I wasn't looking out for it and I didn't know, she got I would be surprised if she wasn't like one of the leading confessional getters. And like you said, she is looking for who she wants to align with in this group. And she's like, you know what, even though, Shannon's a little like kooky and out there and I'm not really feeling her vibes. Like, I'm not really feeling her, like, her antics, I can work with her. And then she's even like, listen, I wanted to work with, was it Jawan?
Yes, Jawan.
Yeah. I was going to consider working with Jawan, but he's already crying because he can't make the fire. Do I kind of want to roll forward with that? I don't know. So she's clearly already assessing her options. I really like her for that. And then, like you mentioned, Rizzo, I refuse to call him Rizgod until he proves that he's earned the nickname.
Rizgod, Rizgod.
Oh yeah. But no, he's obviously a character, and we'll talk about the hero challenge, but he seems to be a potential player in this game as well. Yeah, and then I think Nate was interesting. I feel like Nate got a pretty interesting edit. I kind of liked what Nate was putting down in terms of he's self-aware, right? He's like, listen, I'm the oldest person on this tribe. My wife got me, dad something socks, whatever they were, rad dad socks. Yeah. But like clearly that just kind of further makes me seem older. Do I really want to do that? So I like people who are very immediately perceptive of how they are, perceived in the game. So I got good vibes from Nate. But yeah, I would say like in Savannah, Nate, and Rizzo, not really feeling yet. We'll see what happens with Sage and Shannon, and then Jawan kind of got like a back and forth edit. So yeah, I mean, I feel like Red has potential.
Yeah, if I had to guess, it seems like Savannah and Shannon are a tight duo, and then Rizzo, we didn't really see a lot of him after the beginning. But I mean, I'm guessing from what we saw of him that he's somebody that some people are going to want to work with. And then it seemed like people were getting pretty good vibes from Nate, and then Jawan kind of like went from good vibes to bad vibes. I could kind of see a strong four of Savannah, Shannon, Nate, and Rizzo. It would not be surprised if that happens with Sage being the first off from this group. And we'll see what happens with Jawan if he redeems himself or not. Yeah, I got good vibes from Nate also. The fact that he's breaking down the Survivor in Marvel terms is pretty funny.
I was going to ask you. I was going to say, Dylan, as people who both enjoy Marvel, as do our friends and some of our family, how many weekly Marvel references are we going to get? We started this week with saying we can't have two Captain Americas. We need to have a team of different people. How soon is it going to be until Nate's being like, we're at the merge, I need to collect the Infinity Stones of my alliance? How many Marvel references are we going to get?
I love it. Keep it going. Keep it going. I mean, it's awesome to see. But I mean, if I were out there, I feel like that Nate is somebody that I would be drawn to in terms of wanting to work with somebody. And like, I think it was somebody said it. I don't remember. Maybe it was Jawan. That Nate is somebody who like, or maybe it's Savannah, but like Nate is somebody who like, he seems very like straightforward. Like I don't get vibes that he's going to like lie to a lot of people. And he'll be a steady number for me. Right. So, and he seems pretty smart. Like, I think if I were looking to team up with somebody, like Nate would be very close to the top of that list, if not at the top. So I do think he weaves his way into the majority alliance here, if I had to guess. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Nate, but let's talk about Rizzo for a second, because we spoke about the Blue Tribe, we spoke about the Red Tribe. Now let's talk about the moment that those two tribes interacted. Rizzo and Alex, I should say, getting supplies for their tribe, and I mean this was just a classic comeback edit. And the entire time I'm like, at first I'm like, oh, they're really setting Rizzo up for a huge comeback here. Like, this is the beginning of his story arc. Like, the story arc that we know is going to be, somewhat significant given the fact that he's going to be on the next season, right? So like, this could be the start of his story arc, and he gets blown out in that puzzle. I'm sitting here like, all right, maybe the start of his story arc is that he completely makes a fool of himself and gets blown out in this puzzle. And somehow, some way, Rizzo wins that challenge. I mean, if you're Alex, I mean, how do you even watch that back? I mean, what a painful thing to watch. I think it was hilarious to watch Rizzo try to do a puzzle, like literally a jigsaw puzzle. I don't understand how it could have been that difficult to put the pieces together. And then we have the other guy, Alex, who just the map is the puzzle's telling him where to dig, and the guy cannot find the thing. Just dig deeper, man. Like, it was wild to watch, but I was enjoying every second of it. Like, that was probably my favorite part of the episode. I think Rizzo he's going to be a great character. I think at the very minimum, we're going to get a great character from him, and I'm super excited to watch him play after all this.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure who had a harder time watching tonight's episode back, Nicole or Alex, honestly. I mean, Nicole got voted out and had all the spitting moments, but then, Alex just literally Atlanta Falcons 28-3 choking. I mean, that choke, I mean, the fact that, like, because at first I'm like, okay, fine, maybe it's a big beach, you don't really know where to dig, I can get it. Then I look at the map, and then I look at Rizzo's map, and both people have their wheel, the X marks the spot, is in between two logs. And I'm like, I don't know how you cannot find this ship wheel in this surface area. It's crazy to me. And to your point, like, Rizzo is like, hey, on a scale of 0 to 100, my puzzle skill is negative 100. I can't do puzzles. He goes and looks at the puzzle from Alex. He's still struggling. And then they do the whole, like, classic, goof of, like, oh, his last puzzle pieces are stuck in the coconut. He doesn't know he has them. He still manages to get those and solve the puzzle. I just, Dylan, genuinely don't know how Alex had that big of a lead and could not find. Like, I almost wonder if there's some type of, like, conspiracy where it's like maybe somehow he had the puzzle wrong and they just didn't show us that he had the puzzle wrong. Because to me, I just don't know how you can have, like, that type of a lead in that map and you cannot find the ship's wheel, and then he finds it right away.
Yeah, I think he just wasn't digging deep enough, because based on, like, Rizzo had a comment where he's like, I'm just going to dig as deep of a hole as I could on the spot. And it looked like that Alex was, like, trying to dig around in multiple places. I was like, what's going on with this guy? It was wild. But then we got a few great Rizzo confessionals, and I think he kind of got, like, it's the start of what, in my opinion, could be, like, a big hero edit from him. We'll see what happens. But I love the way that he, like, got on the boat, and he had a quote that was like, mailman's got a delivery, and he, like, holds up the machete, and, like, that was an awesome moment. So
yeah,
I think his tribe is, they didn't really, again, we didn't really see a lot of him after this moment, but I do feel like his tribe is going to want to end up working with him. So we'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah, Rizzo is somebody where, and listen, he's 25. Like, he's obviously not the youngest player we've had recently. We've had much younger players, but Dylan, this is one of the first times I feel like I felt my age, because Rizzo was giving us all the Gen Z memes and quotes. He's like, we're cooked. He's like, this is cinema. Like, he's giving us all the memes. So yeah, I felt like I was getting old when Rizzo was hitting us with all the memes. So
yes. All right, let's get to Yellow, who we haven't spoke about yet. I feel like out of all the tribes, and maybe we got less of them because they were gonna just easily win both of these challenges, but yeah. I feel like I got the least from Yellow. I have no read on the tribe in terms of dynamics, but maybe a slight read on a few of them. We didn't really hear much from MC. Mm-hmm. We heard, like, a little bit from Christina at the beginning. We barely heard anything from Sophie. Yellow. I'm just gonna call her Yellow Sophie from now on. We heard, like, a very little bit from Matt, a lot from Steven, and, like, a little bit from Jason. So we didn't really hear, I feel like, a lot from a lot of these players. Early vibes tell me, like, I'm pretty high on Jason, I think. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe just because he's a Smash Bros guy. I don't know. But
That was crazy. That was crazy.
yeah, he said he was an alternate and literally found out the night before he said, 30 minutes before he went to sleep or something like that. That's what he said, that he was going to be on the season. So pretty cool story. And, sometimes alternates end up, going out there with a new mentality because it's like they felt like they weren't going to get on. And then all of a sudden they get on at the last second and they're like, I got nothing to lose now. Like, you saw his excitement. Obviously Austin in season 45 was an alternate, gets on the show and then finishes in second place. So I have pretty good vibes from Jason. Steven, he seems like he's going to be a character at the minimum. I don't really know what to make of him. I think that him getting like pretty nervous about like the social dynamics was a little bit odd that early, especially because he seems to be in a pretty good spot. So it makes me a little bit nervous for him. Again, Christina, just seems like a great character. So I'm excited to see more of her. She was like all over the place. MC and Sophie, I don't feel like I have much to say about any of them because I didn't really feel like I got anything. And then we have Matt, who's like the classic old school bro thinks he's on season 1 type guy where, every season it's like, it's so funny because I think that like not old school, but like the new school Survivor before New Era. So like in 20 to 40 seasons, 20 to 40, there was still like always a few people per season that were like a true old school type character. And now we've like reverted all the way back to the point where like, or I should say reverted all the way forward almost in time to like this character is like an ancient relic. And we literally get like one of these a season where it's just like one person out there thinks that they're playing season 3, season 2, season 1. And that person on the season is Matt. We had Roxroy. We thought we had Gabler, and then he won. So I don't know what to think of Matt. I get pretty good vibes as he'll just be like a good guy to maybe align with, and he'll vote your way and stay loyal. Other than that, don't get much for him. I'm curious to know what you think of this tribe. What do you think about this tribe, the Yellow Tribe? What are you thinking? Because I don't have much from them.
Yeah, like you said, because they were going to win the reward challenge and the immunity challenge, they were going to get probably the least amount of that. The only strategy I think we have from this tribe in terms of dynamics is Steven starts to form small connections with everybody where he's going to each person. He's like, hey, I kind of want to, form a dialogue. I kind of want to work together. I want to work with you, Jason. I want to work with you, Sophie. I want to work with you, MC. So that's the only really semblance of strategy we had. We don't even really have like a full 3-4 person alliance. It's just Steven making connections. I'm sure we'll get more next week. But yeah, I feel like this tribe is overall, again, if they won the first 2 challenges, pretty well rounded. Like you said, Matt is a very old school character. He kind of felt to me, with his beard and his dreads, he almost seemed like a mix of like Gabler mixed with like Mike Barassi from Samoa with like a little bit of Tarzan from One World. Like it's like a little bit of like all those meshed together, and that's when you get Matt. But no, I thought Matt was an interesting character. Obviously, he was very good around camp, and I feel like he might be kept around for that, especially in a quick, tough game like 26 days, you're any advantage you can get. So I'm sure Matt will be fine for a little bit, even though he is the oldest person on this cast. But then again, Dylan, this cast also skews older as well, so that might help him out. And then, yeah, Jason, I thought was cool to see. I don't think we've ever seen like them actively say like I was an alternate and I got called last night. Now they didn't tell us that 2 people got kicked off for pre-gaming, but we'll put that aside. But essentially, yeah, I've never heard somebody be like, "Hey Jeff, like I'm actually an alternate." So like that's crazy.
I think MC was the other alternate. Is that correct?
MC was, yeah.
And they're both in the same tribe, interestingly enough. And she.
Well, you know what, but Dylan, that makes sense. Not to go down the rabbit hole, but that makes sense, right? If 2 people in preseason were kicked off for pre-gaming, you got to replace 2 on the same tribe. So. Yeah.
I don't know what to think of this Yellow Tribe. Like, I don't know. I saw like my brother was like pretty high on Sophie just off of vibes, but like she maybe spoke once or twice. I don't know what to think. So I'm curious to see what happens. It looks like next week there's some kind of a twist. I don't know what that twist
Yeah,
is.
I was going to ask you about that. For anybody that watches the promo, if you don't watch the promo, maybe just jump ahead like 5 seconds or whatever. But like they were saying, like Jeff was saying when they were on the mat for the next challenge or whatever, interesting twist in the game on day 5. So I really wonder what's going to happen. I don't know if like, I mean, I can't imagine they're going to swap already. That seems crazy. I also don't think they can swap this early. Is there a chance like? Is there a chance that like they're not going to do like a mutiny either?
I was gonna say maybe it's like a one-person swap, like one person from each tribe, like just swaps. Like I don't know. This like because there were 2 immunity idols still there, so I don't think it's anything with that.
Could it be like
unless he takes one away and is like there's two are going to tribal council tonight?
I could see that happening. Like, hey, I know it's only the second vote, but psych, 2 of you guys are going home tonight. I can see that happening. It could also, Dylan, be some type of impromptu thing, like, oh, somebody gets medically pulled or somebody quits next week, and it's like, oh, hey, you didn't expect this on day 5. You're already down to the next people. So it really could be anything next week. Obviously, we don't know with still only 1 episode in.
Yeah, I don't know. And one other thing that I thought was interesting was I don't know if you watched it, but it was the same immunity challenge as the influencer event.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I was looking at it, I'm like, where did I just see this? I was like, I feel like I just watched this, and it turns out I just did watch it. The influencer thing. Yeah, it was the same exact challenge. So it was interesting to see it run in that event and then also run on the actual season to open up the premiere here. So interesting. It's so weird because I feel like in all these other premieres in previous seasons, it feels like we have so much to talk about in terms of like, oh, this person was looking for an idol. Was it the right move to look for an idol? They had a beware advantage. If you had this beware advantage, like what would you do? He was given 3 options and this is what happens. Like, and like we kind of just had like this like an old fashioned premiere, right? Where it was like not a lot, no twists, like nothing crazy. So it's almost like I feel like we have like just people dynamics to talk about, which is not normal for new era survivors. So it's almost like I feel like we went through all the tribes and I'm like, did I miss anything that happened actually like in the episode? But other than like the supplies, getting the supplies, like that was really the only like journey or like aspect of this that was like a little bit different than other not different from other premieres, but just different from other episodes. So
yeah,
what other thoughts do you have on this premiere? Anything else that like caught your eye? Yeah.
A couple of other small things. I mean, I think we covered, the bulk of it. Like you said, because nothing really crazy happened, we don't have like a ton to really explore in terms of the strategy. It was a very straightforward vote. One thing I want to bring up, Dylan, actually, is during that tribal council, I'm sure you caught it because they were, showing the reactions. I think this was a bad sign from Jeremiah, right? He has that little slip up. If you remember when he's like, oh yeah, Jeff, we are kind of just deciding between 2 people, and Jeff's like, oh really? And then you even see Nicole react, and Jeremiah's like, yeah, and Jeff's like, all right, so it sounds like it's between 2 different people. So obviously I don't think they were going to flip the vote in that moment. It was still going to be either Nicole or Annie, but doesn't speak well, I think, for Jeremiah in terms of like, oh, already in tribal council 1, you're kind of already alluding to, well, if we're deciding between 2 people and there are 6 people, Brad Culpepper math, 2 and a 6 is 4. So there's maybe a 4-person alliance here, Jeff. So yeah, I did pick up on that little slip up from Jeremiah.
Yeah, that was a bad good call, good catch on you to bring that up now. That was a bad move. That was a really bad move. And the reason why it was bad is because it should have been an easy sign for somebody like Nicole to play their shot in the dark. And she just thought that she was potentially like safe, so she didn't do it. Now, my thing about the shot in the dark, which by the way still exists, which never gets talked about, maybe got brought up one time in this episode. Nicole was like, if anything feels weird, I'm playing the shot in the dark. And then she didn't play the shot in the dark. Like, here's the thing about the shot in the dark. And this is my advice to anybody that might be going out there on Survivor 51, 52, 58 in the future, is the shot in the dark is so rarely used by players. So rarely used. I mean, once in a while you see a Caleb who has a miracle shot in the dark move, needs the shot in the dark at that point, uses it, and it hits. Most of these people never need their shot in the dark. They're never using the shot in the dark. if you feel like you're potentially in danger at the first vote, and you know, like for example, Nicole probably thought it was gonna be a 5-1 vote. So she was probably like, my vote doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Why not just play it? Why not just play the shot in the dark? I don't think like if she had played the shot in the dark and it like, let's just say the vote wasn't on her. Let's say the vote was on Annie instead, and she played the shot in the dark and she was safe, but used the shot in the dark. I don't think that like everybody on her tribe would be like, we can't trust her. She uses the shot in the dark. Like, I think, you know, you're doing what you have to do to stay in the game, right? And especially if you have a sign that Jeremiah is like, oh, well, we have 2 people it's between, right? And like all of a sudden, as you said, alarms go off in your head. Like, wait, does that mean that there's a 4-person alliance that I don't know about? I'm not in that 4-person. I should be using the shot in the dark. So that was a little bit weird. Is like, we had that confessional from her that was like, if anything feels off, I'm going to play the shot in the dark. Wow. And then she looked at Alex during that tribal council when Jeremiah said that, was like, wait, am I safe? And he was like, yeah, you're safe. Like, that should have been a like a sign, such a sign, a tell that she was potentially in trouble and should use the shot in the dark. So my big advice, if you're going out there and things feel weird at the first vote, just use the shot in the dark. No one uses it half the time anyway. It's completely useless most of the time. Like, if you feel like you're in danger in the first vote, just you have nothing to lose. Like,
basically the only downside to using it in the first vote is potential long-term ramifications of if you really were working with people, you had an alliance, although I guess to be fair, if you had an alliance, you wouldn't feel like you need to use it. But regardless, if you were working with people and you use your shot in the dark, they might see you as, oh, you're kind of a little flaky. You know, I don't know if I can really trust you going forward. You're kind of a little haphazard. But again, that's what Jamie did in 44. She's like, I don't want to be the first one out. I'm just going to use it. And it randomly hit for her. She was not even in danger at all. So to your point, Dylan, you can just fluke it and say, hey, I'm just going to use it. I want to go home first. And hopefully you can get away scot-free. Nicole definitely, when she caught that slip up from Jeremiah, she should have used it. New players, if you feel like you're in danger, why not use it early? But also, like, think about how the game's evolved too. Like, clearly Nicole didn't think she was in danger, but if you think back to 45, Dylan, Emily in episode 2, as Emily starts her kind of like, you know, regrowth arc and she's trying to rebuild bonds, doesn't in episode 2 when they vote out Brandon, doesn't she give Sabaya her shot in the dark? And she's like, hey, you know what? I'm actually going to use the shot in the dark not as an idol, but as currency. And I'm going to be like, hey, you can trust me. So if Nicole really did feel like she was in danger, maybe what she could have done also is be like, listen, guys, like, I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's Annie, I sucked in the challenge. If you want my shot in the dark to prove my loyalty or to prove that I'm not a threat to you, please take it. Because at that point, you'll be like, well, look, if we just take her shot in the dark, we can get rid of Annie and make her, you know, use hers, or we can get rid of her shot in the dark, and now we still have Nicole shot in the dark, and she has no safety whatsoever next week, and she's an easy vote. So there was different ways Nicole maybe could have saved herself here, like you said, using shot in the dark in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a good use for it. I think that's a good way that the shot in the dark has evolved throughout the new era, but it is like at the same time, it's like, and I'm sure obviously you agree, is like you just gotta use it as intended if necessary. Like you just gotta use it. Now, I'm curious to know my last question here before we like kind of wrap up, because I don't think there's like too much more to talk about. Is, in your mind, do you think that these tribes are pretty even, or do you think we're going to see like a dominant tribe, a disaster tribe? Because I'll tell you what I think is, like, I looked at these tribes and I was like, I kind of got a feeling that like I didn't think Yellow would be in trouble, but like I got no read on them. I didn't look at them and be like, this is going to be the dominant tribe. And then they go out there and win 2 challenges like fairly easily. Like they won by a decent amount in both. So I'm kind of wondering if that's going to be a common theme. But like looking at their tribe, I don't think it like seems like that should be the case, which is why I'm like so a little bit confused by that. I don't really like none of the. Maybe I'm just used to Yellow just being the disaster color.
They usually are.
Yeah. Right. But I don't know. I don't like, to me, it doesn't like stick out that there's going to be a disaster tribe. Because I do think that like Blue, they have some strong challenge competitors. Like I don't think they're going to keep losing. Red, they won today. They don't seem like they would be particularly weak. And then Yellow just kind of just like dominated both challenges, but doesn't like jump off the page as a dominating challenge team. So it's like do you think that there's going to be Disaster Tribe in this season, or do you think that it'll be pretty evenly distributed who's losing and winning challenges?
Yeah, it's a good question. I got to be very careful what I say here because I feel like ever since I found out that Gabe saw our podcast, I've been trying to be like very cautious about like what I say because you never know who's watching.
Rome.
I'm sorry, it wasn't Gabe. It was Rome. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Rome was watching, and I was like, well, shit. But anyway, yeah, no, I feel like this season, what they did with the tribes, and they've done this before, where sometimes, like you said, they have tribes that are very uneven. And then they have times where they're pretty even, but then you have other times where it's like, we're going to give you the strongest people in the game, but we're also going to give you some of the weakest people, and that will balance it out. And I feel like that's what kind of happened here. So again, I'm just going to say apologies for what I'll say. But to me, they gave the Blue Tribe Nicole, Jeremiah, and Annie, who I perceived to be three of the, less, athletic or competitive people, right? And I thought when they hit the mat, I actually thought, oh, Blue's in trouble. But obviously, to balance that out, you give them Alex and you give them Jake, who are two of the bigger guys on the season. But you're kind of balancing it out with some of the weaker competitors. And I just thought Yellow and Red seemed more well-rounded. So to me, I don't think Blue's the Disaster Tribe. I think Red or Yellow could easily lose next week. So I think it could be even. Now, if Blue loses twice in a row, I'm going to deem them disaster. But I just felt like that was their strategy to kind of give them the strongest people, but then also give them some of the weaker players. And clearly tonight, I think just in both challenges, like I think even in both legs of the challenge, Dylan, you saw, Alex and Annie, not Alex, I'm sorry, Jake and Annie were the first two people in both challenges, and Jake's doing like 90% of the work, and Annie's kind of just there with him. And then Nicole and Jeremiah struggled. So I had a feeling Blue, they have strong people, but they're not well balanced.
Maybe they'll be the type of tribe that it's like they lose twice in a row, they get rid of Nicole and Annie, and then they start winning. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could see that happening. But yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know. It's interesting that you saw it that way because, like, I guess maybe just like visually, I look for the biggest guys, and I'm just like, oh, like they should be fine. But you actually made a good point that they are very like top heavy in terms of that. So I do see what you're saying, and I mean it played out today. So.
Yeah, and I'll give the show credit. I'll just say while we're speaking about challenges, I thought, the challenges were overall pretty good tonight. I mean, I really liked the hero challenge in terms of getting the coconuts, putting the map together.
Loved it.
I thought it was a really clever challenge.
Yeah.
I thought the immunity challenge, which again was from the influencer mini episode, I thought the snake challenge between carrying the snake, but then also the snake, maze, I thought that was really clever. The reward challenge was kind of basic. We have this whole thing every season where you got to carry things back, do the puzzle. It's very basic, the reward challenge, but I thought the hero and the immunity was two good challenges.
Yeah. The only other note I have about this episode that I think is interesting is we're continuing to see a trend of like any person and with any job somehow like in their head thinks that they have the most threatening job. And I'm like so confused by it. Like, why is you being a film producer? Why is you producing Marvel movies? Like, why is that a thing that hurts you? Like, I don't understand that. Like, to me, that would be a thing that could help bring you together with other people. So like he didn't lie. Nate, that is, didn't lie about his career, but he's like, I could see it, potentially hurting me. I don't know why that is. And then you had like Savannah, who's like, I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm a reporter because people are going to think I'm like good on TV and good with people. Which I guess makes sense, but also like, come on, like, I don't know, like I would never like hear somebody's a reporter and be like, that's a problem. Like the only thing that I potentially like would hear and be like, this is an issue is like, this person's a cop. Like, yeah, that's concerning to me. Or like a detective or something like that. Like that's concerning to me. But like even like all the lawyers keep like lying about being lawyers like on other seasons, and I'm just like, that wouldn't like I know other people that are lawyers that are just like normal people, like that wouldn't like threaten me necessarily. Like it's just interesting to me. I don't know. I feel like more now than ever we've just seen that, which is interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. Cop, and I could see an argument for lawyer just because maybe you're threatened by them as a public speaker, and they're maybe very persuasive for people. So cop and lawyer, fine. You want to lie about it, fine. But like you said, I'm a reporter. I got to lie about it. I work in film. That's like
she's like I work a marketing job. Like, okay, like
I just feel like what I don't know what it achieves, because all it does is basically means that you can't talk about your real occupation, and God forbid just you slip up about it. But I mean, I just don't know what it yields. I just think it's silly. The only time I feel like it makes sense is if maybe like truthfully by day you do this and by night you do this, so you're technically not lying, like you do another job at night. But yeah, like you said, Dylan, every season someone has to lie about it. And yeah, I just find it so weird. So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's all I have. All the mental notes I had on this episode, which again I enjoyed it. Curious to see, it didn't like blow me away or anything, but I'm curious to see what happens. And I do think, like, and by the way, I will say, actually, one last thing I will say, shout out to the cast for maybe we're evolving as a group and we don't have people that are going to run off for idols on day one anymore. At least on the season, I was like, wow, like we don't, and they kind of hinted towards Annie maybe doing it for like a second, but like, I think it was just like the way it was edited. Like, I don't know if she was actually looking for idols, but, it is a little refreshing, as Gabe said in his tweet, not to see that on day one from we didn't have a Rome on the season. With all due respect, again, if Rome was watching this podcast, like there's nothing wrong with playing that way. It's just like it feels refreshing not to have it. So
yeah, and that's a good point too with Annie, where it's like I don't even think she was really looking, and like they almost said to her, "Hey, do you want to come with us to go do something?" And she's like, "No, I'm okay. I'll hang back for now." Like so. Yeah, no one was really even looking early. And that's why I said at the start of the podcast, Dylan, I said this felt very classic, where like there was no idol talk, no advantage talk, tribe strength, person A, person B. And that's why maybe, like you said, we don't have like a ton to dissect, just because we're still figuring out what are the dynamics, what's going to happen with the strategy. But also, it just felt like very old school in some ways, which again is not a bad. We're not complaining, not a bad thing. So
yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, we'll be back Wednesday nights. Again, apologize for the audio issues. My mic is in early season form, just non-existent. As we warm up, the mic will return. We'll be back next week, same time after the episode. 15-30 minutes after the episode ends, we'll be back Wednesday nights. Feels good to be podcasting right after the episode again. Feels good to be podcasting again in general. So I'm super excited for this, for Survivor to be back. It's a weird situation because it's like, you have to get through this season before the main event.
Yeah.
It's like it's like when you have a UFC main event and then you have the prelims. Like this is a prelim right now. Like, but any Survivor is good Survivor, so I'm excited to see it. And I'm sure as this season goes on, we'll get even more excited for 50. So I'm excited to see it go.
Dylan, I cannot wait for 50. I can't contain myself, much like Nicole. Much like Nicole, I felt bad. I felt so bad between her spitting the water in Jeremiah's face and then her just like heaving. I was like, I would be so upset if I was watching this as a first episode.
A rough episode, yeah.
Rough episode, yes. But we will be back, like Dylan said, next week. I'm looking forward to podcasting after the episodes, and obviously, like Dylan said, going to ramp us up for 50. So I cannot wait.
Yep, for sure.
All right. And as we like to do it, if you're new here, we wrap up by saying grab your torches and head back to camp.
Good night.